Welcome to the EOB podcast, where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I'm Ben-Hur, and joining me is Sen Duong. So, hey, Sen, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So we missed a couple of weeks.
2 weeks, in fact, because I was out of town on a trip, and I'm back. I am still jet lagged. So, if you find me falling asleep, that's what's happening.
All right. So we might have a shorter podcast this week.
Maybe. Okay, so how about we jump right in before I zone out and crunked out or whatever.
Sure.
So we have three new releases last weekend that challenged Warner Brothers' new superhero movie Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
They are Sausage Party, Pete Strike, and Florence Foster Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
And Suicide Squad, despite having a huge percentage drop-off, managed to hold on to the top spot.
Yeah, so what was the first week? It was like 135 million?
Yeah, the first opening weekend was 133 million.
Okay.
Our predictions for Suicide Squad was both 110 million.
Okay. So it did better than our high expectations.
Our high expectations, yeah, we were saying that, well, at least I was going for, is Suicide Squad more Deadpool?
Yeah, it is Deadpool. It beat Deadpool, right?
I'm not quite sure because my memory is fuzzy right now.
Okay, right.
But it went high.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick look. Let's see where Deadpool did. Deadpool opened to 132 million, so it beat it by
like a
1
million
million more, which is pretty good because but Deadpool is more impressive because it's an R-rated movie, so which limits its audience somewhat. Whereas Suicide Squad is PG-13.
Right. And of course, Deadpool's budget was only 60 million. Suicide Squad is like 3 or 4 times more, 175 million. But I think both did surprisingly well. Suicide Squad, despite our high expectations, still did about 20 million more than what we had expected.
Right. And in our preview, we said that, hey, this is the first DC movie where we thought it was fun.
Right.
Instead of all these dark and gritty stuff of the Batman movies, the Superman movies, and the Batman versus Superman movies.
Right. But the problem with Suicide Squad is poorly reviewed. Even the reviews were even worse than Batman vs Superman. And this week's drop-off was similar to Batman vs Superman, like 67%, a steep drop-off. But you know what? It's already, after 2 weeks of release, it's already grossed 223 million domestically. And worldwide, it's already at 465 million. So despite the poor reviews, I think the cinema score wasn't that great either. It was pretty average.
I think it was a tad better than Batman versus Superman. I think it was like a B plus versus Batman's B, I think.
Yeah, for cinema score, that's really average. I saw the movie; it deserved the poor ratings. I thought it was only okay. I actually thought that Batman vs Superman was better, mainly because I thought Batman vs Superman was just good enough. It wasn't good; it was better than okay. It was just good enough to get everything started. The introductions to these characters were, engaging and fun. I feel like probably what most of the critics felt, that after they assemble the team and they get on their mission, it's a pretty boring and uninteresting mission. That's the main problem with the film. The villain and the villain's minions were just really dull and uninteresting. So, here they assemble a group of interesting people and they gave them a really, they were just like, oh, okay, you guys, here, have a beer, sit down and do nothing. That's pretty much the whole movie.
Oh, right. I mean, I heard that there were some studio intervention with this movie. David Ayer wrote the script, and I guess the studio intervened and kind of cut it up.
Sometimes when the studios intervene, their intervention is good. I can totally see how this movie could have went out of control because I can see this being a typical studio intervention. Them going, hey, you're going in 20 million directions. You need to focus on this mission. Even though the mission was pretty boring. I could see how, after watching the film, because it is a very streamlined movie. You grab this group of misfits together and put them on this mission. after they get everyone together, the mission is pretty, I guess the plot is pretty efficient and it gets to the point pretty quickly. It's like get them from A to B, B to C, C to D, the end.
Yeah, I mean, but you see all these various superhero movies, and from Marvel, and also from DC, and then from Sony as well. They all kind of, like I said, blending together. Oh yeah, there's another bad guy to fight. And then what differentiates these movies are really, the characters in the movies.
Yeah. And I guess that's one of the problems with this movie is they have a bunch of interesting characters and then they stuck them on this mission and then nothing happens. Well, not that nothing happens. It's just that this mission is so generic, so boring. Like they fight a bunch of people, faceless blobs of people. That's their whole mission is to fight all these gray-looking blobs, faceless blobs. And then when they got through them, they fought this supernatural being with things streaming out of it. And it's
okay, right.
Yeah. But anyway, it's we might be talking a little bit too much about this.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Suicide Squad wasn't supposed, I guess, to be this big movie, but it happened to be better than expected. I mean, perform at the box office at least.
Yeah, for the box office at least. But in terms of expectations, I think people's expectations were, including mine, were probably high. Like we said, it's an interesting premise. You put together all these bad guys and put them on a mission and see what happens. And I guess this fun that we were expecting wasn't in the movie.
All right. But hey, like I said, it performed better than what people were expecting. Well, I mean, we were high on the thing, but it did way better. But hey, Suicide Squad it's assembled by a group of lesser known characters, right?
Yeah.
And it's doing well here. It's doing well worldwide. Worldwide is 465 million. But what do you make of the highest drop off of 67% in its second weekend?
No surprise there, just bad word of mouth. The best I've heard from people who have seen it is that it was okay. And the thing is, you see so much potential, and it fell way below what that potential is. And I think that's the main problem.
Yeah, I mean, the sentiments I got from reading these online comments is that the complaint is similar to yours. Is that, hey, they've got some really good people, actor like Will Smith, Margot Robbie, even the guy who played your Joker. But overall, it lost the plot kind of with the supernatural villain.
Yeah.
At the end, it's like, oh, you assemble the squad to fight this.
Yeah.
It doesn't match up.
Yeah, a lot of things don't make sense. I mean, one of the main characters is a guy, I think his name is Pyro. He can shoot fires out of his hands. And I think this is the main complaint and he can turn into this super powerful fire guy who stands like 3 or 4 stories tall. But when they were fighting these faceless humanoid blobs, everyone's just punching and shooting and using baseball bats, including him. And so they got to the end and they face this 3-story high supernatural being, and suddenly this Pyro guy turned into this super powerful 3-story guy shooting fires, and he's fighting him. And then you're like, why didn't you do this during the mission when you were fighting all these like humanoid blobs? It makes no sense. Why didn't you turn on this thing and just boom, done?
Yeah, the movie only has money for 1 or 2 scenes like that. They have to save it for the end.
I see. They only have money to pay for that one scene.
Right.
And I think that's one of the main complaints from people too. It's like, wait a minute, he's this super powerful Pyro guy. Why didn't he use this for 2/3 of the movie?
Like Deadpool made for like 58 million. They only include 2 X-Men because of money. In any case, right? I mean, we're not talking about what makes sense or what doesn't make sense in a movie. Right?
Yeah.
This movie kind of performed well. Here's the thing, right? I mean, it opened bigger than what people were expecting, right? And then there's a huge drop off in the second weekend, and people saying, hey, it's experiencing the same decline as Batman versus Superman. So it's not doing as well as the studio hoped it would do. Right.
Actually, Batman vs. Superman didn't do as well as what studios hoped it to do. But Suicide Squad, I think, they're way better than what people initially expected. Like a couple of weeks before it opened, the buzz had built up to a point where people were expecting great things. and it's going to fail to meet those expectations. But I think if you step outside, you step out, let's say right after people saw Batman vs. Superman, I think the expectations for Suicide Squad at most would be that it is going to make, 160 to 200 million? This looks like it's going to make, at least 300 million. So commercially, it's a success. But I don't think it improves the DC brand.
When you say that, it doesn't help the DC brand at all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Batman versus Superman, the tomato meter was, is 27%.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad is, 27% as well.
Right.
Let me check on Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, I think, was around the 50% range.
Okay, let's see. Man of Steel is 55% range.
Yeah.
So, they're not quote unquote fresh movies, right?
Yeah.
As for the DC brand moving forward, it will get a reputation that, hey, these are not good movies.
Yeah.
What will Suicide Squad, for example, and Batman versus Superman do for the upcoming Wonder Man movie,
Right.
Wonder Woman movie, right?
Right.
Which is rumored to be troubled.
Oh, really?
Yes, there was some Twitter with the director Patty Jenkins saying there was this anonymous letter, open letter posted to WB about how with some snippet in about Wonder Woman being not that great.
Oh.
And then what will it do for the like Aquaman movies,
Right.
the upcoming Justice League movies?
Yeah, I think long-term health of the property is, I think eventually it'll end up being like the original Tim Burton Batman franchise. Like it reached its peak with Tim Burton. It has a certain well-regard. And then when Joe Schumacher got to it, even though the second film, the third film did decent, but it was more based on the respect and prestige of the original Tim Burton movie. But eventually you see the long-term effects of it is by the time it got to Batman and Robin, the franchise was pretty much in ruins. And I feel like this might have one of those. Sure, Suicide Squad made a buttload of money, but this is mainly because they sold it so well and because of the buzz and expectations. And it failed to meet those expectations, just like Batman vs. Superman. And long-term wise, people are going to say, they're going to see this and they're going to think this is becoming a joke.
Right. I mean, people gave WB the benefit of the doubt, saying, this is something new for them. We're going to give you a couple chances, and those chances might be running out.
Yeah, even though it's making money, but like you said, it's because people giving them chances and they see the potential of these properties, and they're going based on this potential, and these expectations not only aren't being met, they're highly disappointing. And you can only go to so many of these disappointing products before you go, hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this.
Yeah, right. Like one of our previous presidents said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So okay, I guess that's it for Suicide Squad. We kind of went long on this, since we missed 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
So we'll save this for future podcasts.
One more comment, since you mentioned Wonder Woman.
Okay.
I think Wonder Woman has a similar deal with the whole DC franchises. Is that after watching the trailer, actually looking forward to it, but then I hear from you that there's all these behind the scenes trouble, and now I'm like, oh no, it looks like it's gonna follow this trend of high expectations, high potential, high buzz, and then huge disappointment.
Okay, so the thing is, the director Patty Jenkins came out and say, there's no trouble at all, etc., etc. So we'll see.
Well, that's what Donald Trump's campaign spokesperson and managers say.
Right, but normally where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. But if you look at the poll numbers, there is trouble.
Right.
Okay.
But
anyway.
Yeah, it just goes on. Yeah. Anyway, how about we move on to number 2, Sausage Party. It's the Sony animation. It grows about 33.6 million over the weekend to come in number 2. The budget is surprisingly only 19 million.
Yep. And you know what? this did way better than I expected. Originally, when I saw the trailer, I thought this was a family film. My kids wanted to see this, and I'm glad that I went onto my Twitter feed and read from all these people who said, hey, there were sausages and, buns, and they do stuff to each other. And I'm like, okay. Right. So I'm glad that they gave me the heads up on that.
There's something called the MPAA rating that you should check out as well.
Yes, yes. From the trailer, it didn't look like this is a rated R product.
Oh, right. But, with general release trailers, they usually cut out the raunchy stuff.
Yes. And when I read that Seth Rogen said they specifically made an orgy scene.
Okay, all right. Good to know.
You know how filmmakers, if they wanted an R rating, they'll put in something that's so outrageous, so out there, so gory, so that it desensitizes the MPAA members to the rest of the film, so they can keep their push the edge on the ratings. And with Sausage Party, it was one of those where they know that orgy scene's not going to make it, but they're going to put it in there just so that the rest of the raunchy stuff that they wanted to be in the film will be kept in the film. Right.
That scene makes the rest looks tame.
Yeah. So this is one of them.
Right, and also surprisingly, it has an 83% on the tomato meter, which is extremely well reviewed for something like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm surprised by too. My Twitter feed was like, "Wow, this is awesome, this is great," but don't bring your kids to it. It's not a kids film.
Yeah, but from the trailer, it doesn't look that appealing to me. But hey, apparently people like raunchy sausage animation.
Right. Yeah, so it was a surprise hit. I want to see it now. Not only did it do surprisingly well at the box office, it was also surprisingly well reviewed.
Right, and also one of the better grossing Seth Rogen movies. One of the better Seth Rogen opening. Comedies, at least.
Yeah, you know that with Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill behind it, it's going to be super raunchy. Especially right. Jonah Hill. All
right, so we'll see if it holds up in the second weekend, which I think it will, due to word of mouth.
Yeah, and I guess this is great for the animation industry because in the US, most of the animated features are targeted towards a family audience. I think one of the biggest differentiations between the animation industry in the US and Japan is, in Japan, animation is not just a genre, it's an entire, subgenre. In the animation genre, they have dramas, they have thrillers, they have comedies, they have raunchy stuff, rated R stuff. Compared to Japan, the US it's just a tiny portion in terms of the range of subject matters that, this genre can produce.
Oh no, I think the problem with the US is there's only like a certain demographic they're targeting with animation, whereas Japan, it crosses a whole swath of demographics. Like young, old, whatever.
Teens, they fill up the entire range of demographics from babies to seniors. There's an animated movie in Japan for you. Whereas in the US, it's mostly just kids.
Right. It was thought that animation is just for children, right? The young people.
Yeah. Whereas Sausage Party, there's a demographic who wants to see films that are, out of that PG-13 range.
Okay. Right. It is kind of expanding the potential audience a bit.
Yeah, right.
All right. So how about we move along to number 3?
Right. Speaking of family films.
Which is Pete's Dragon. I pulled in $21.5 million over the weekend.
Right, this is another one of these real live action adaptations of Disney's animated classics. And continuing the trend of the recent films like The Jungle Book, Pete's Dragon is actually well reviewed. But surprisingly, they made this for only $65 million. When you compare this budget to The Jungle Book, which cost about $200 million, or Maleficent, which also costs about $200 million. Now, this is relatively cheap. It made $21.5 million, which is kind of okay, I guess decent. If it has legs, it can do $90 to $100 million if it has legs. But $21.5 million is a lot lower than recent live-action adaptations of Disney's classic animated films. But for a film that only cost $65 million, $21.5 million opening is not too bad.
Oh, right. And I assume the low budget is because they don't have a lot of people in the movie, and a lot of special effects.
Yeah, it's just the dragon that's being animated.
Right. And also maybe some of the backgrounds, but I think most of it is just sets.
Right. Unlike the Jungle Book where all the animals are being animated.
Right.
And probably trees and forests.
Right. Okay, so number 4 is Jason Bourne. It pulled in 13.6 million, and it's already in its third week. Experienced nearly a 40% drop off from its previous week, and so far it made 126 million. So one of the lower earning Bournes, right?
Yeah, continues that trend of, well, I guess, disappointing returns, but this is actually one of the better performing sequels, even though it's not going to make nearly as much as the previous Bourne films. I think it did open to about 60 million, which is a solid opening especially for sequels of this summer. But again, I think people this summer are sequeled out.
That's true. And also, like Jason Bourne, this movie, it's how many years ago? The last Bourne movie with Matt Damon is from 2007.
Yeah, right. Almost like 10 years, huh?
Yeah, it's one of those things where after a long period of time, and people returning it, and people want to come back to this series. I mean, it opened really well, right? But it doesn't seem like it's holding on as well.
Yeah, right. At this rate, it looks like you'll probably do 160. 170 million, which is one of the lower grossing films in the franchise.
Yeah, which you probably match what the Bourne Supremacy made, which is I think the second Bourne movie.
And the reviews weren't that great either. Previous 3 Matt Damon Bourne films have been really well reviewed.
It has a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not one of the better reviewed films, and it doesn't look like it's going to be one of the higher grossing films.
Oh, right, but it has a good cinema score, A-.
Right, and at a budget of 120 million, it's gonna make a profit. The worldwide figure is at 246 million. So I'm not sure where they're gonna go on with this. So do you think they're gonna make more?
I think they will, but maybe not with Matt Damon, because this is something that, of course, Universal, this is a franchise Universal doesn't want to give up. Right, they'll maybe try a reboot, or they can make more with Matt Damon. It depends on the budget, of course, right?
You know what? I think they might just. I don't think they're gonna reboot it because they already tried rebooting with Jeremy
Renner.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner, and that didn't do nearly as well. That's like the lowest grossing Bourne movie. So unless this one, I'm not sure if it. I don't think it opened in China yet. Unless it does really well in China, I'm not sure if we'll see another one. At this budget and at the current figure, international worldwide figure so far, it's going to be profitable. But I think overall it's probably still slightly disappointing. This is before it opens in China,
right,
and Japan.
So this might be the final Bourne, you think, if it doesn't do well in the Asian countries.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I would say that Universal would want to hold on to franchises, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they tried it with Jeremy Renner, and that didn't work out. So they brought back Matt Damon and, the original director, Paul Greengrass, and it seems like people are like, I think we have enough of Jason Bourne.
Right.
Like most of the sequels this summer, it seems like, in general, people are kind of sequeled out.
Right. We touched upon that previously. Okay, I think I'm starting to zone out. How about we move on along?
Okay. All right, number 5, Bad Moms at 11.4 million this week, holding up really well. A drop off of only 18%. After 3 weeks of release, it has already grossed 71.5 million at a budget of just 20 million. So unlike Jason Bourne, we'll definitely see more Bad Moms because it is becoming a very profitable film for STX. I think Bad Moms is their highest grossing film so far.
Yes, I mean, STX is this new outfit that buys films and releases them. Mm-hmm. And Bad Moms is one of them. And I guess Bad Mom goes along the same line as movies with bad in the titles, like Bad Santa, Dirty Grandpas, what else? About whoever's in the title behaving badly, going against the norm.
Right.
And it seems like people like these type of movies, comedies.
And STX has been doing decently well. They have with modest hits like The Boy. Although Free State of Jones was kind of a disappointment. Hardcore Henry was kind of a disappointment, but The Boy did well, and Bad Moms is definitely their biggest hit so far, so we'll see more from them. Alright. At number 6, The Secret Life of Pets did 8.8 million over the weekend, again holding up really well. The drop-off is only 23%. It has already grossed 336 million in the US at a budget of just 75 million. The worldwide figure is at 592 million. So we're gonna see a lot more of these films.
Well, it's pretty much one of the surprises of the summer, really, right? The Secret Life Pets and animation by the Universal's animation department, Illumination, and it's released after Zootopia, which is another movie. It's a movie from Pixar, which kind of features different animals as well.
From Disney, not Pixar.
Oh, Disney, yeah. Oh, same company, right? Or almost, but
yeah.
But I think let's see, is it making the same as Zootopia? Let me see. Let's do a quick search. So, Zootopia grossed 341 domestic.
Okay, so looks like Secret Life of Pets will pass it domestically. I think worldwide Zootopia hit 1 billion.
Right. And I don't think Secret Life of Pets will make it, but domestic did better than Zootopia.
Yeah, it will do better. No, hasn't done better yet.
Oh, okay, it will do better. Okay.
All right, let's move on to number 7. Another sequel, Star Trek Beyond. It did 6.8 million over the weekend, 32% drop off. It did nearly 140 million domestically at a budget of 185 million. So following the summer trend of sequels that are not doing nearly as well as their predecessors.
If I look at the numbers, I would say yikes. Right?
Yeah.
The budget is 185 million. So far, domestic, it only grossed 139. And worldwide, it's only 211.
I don't think it opened in China yet. It still hasn't opened in China or Japan yet. Those are some of the bigger territories. So if we're counting the 211 million that is grossed so far worldwide, at this current pace, it's going to lose money. But whether or not it is going to be profitable is still out there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see how well it does in China and Japan.
Well, let's assume that it will get an additional 200 million overseas. Is that a reasonable estimate?
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. You never know how these films will do in those territories. China's been surprising. Like Zootopia did like 250 million there, but other big films in the US haven't done it that well. So hard to say.
Okay, that's what we're getting at, is that we're seeing these Star Trek films declining in their box office take.
Yeah, and this one is declining by a lot. So unless it does spectacularly in China and Japan, we probably won't see anymore.
Right, we're seeing subsequent Star Trek movies dropping, at least in the domestic gross. Right, the first Star Trek movie grossed 257 million. Second, Into Darkness grossed 228, and so far the third Star Trek grossed 139.
So there's a pretty big drop off. So the jury is still out, and China lately has been disappointing at the box office too. The month of July wasn't good for China. It's the first time that they ever experienced a huge drop at the box office. I think box office this July was like 18% less than the July of last year.
Okay, so you could say that they have trouble with their economy too. It might be catching up to them, or it could be that sequelitis is happening there as well.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the third new wide release of the weekend, Florence Foster Jenkins, starring Meryl Streep. I think it's based on a story about this witch person who likes to sing, but eventually went to Carnegie Hall, but her voice wasn't that great. So it's one of these dramedies by Paramount, and it opened to 6.6 million. The per screen average is about 4,000, which is just okay. So open okay for a Meryl Streep movie. For a film that only played in about 1,500 theaters, which is less than half of what the other films' new releases open to. So 6.6 million, kind of okay, not great.
It's kind of one of the lower end of what Meryl Streep movies usually open to.
Yeah, for wide release films. Meryl Streep can only do so much.
Yeah, and with a title like Florence Foster Jenkins, I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
Right. It's like, okay, what the heck is that, and do I want to watch it? I guess it's really an art house movie that's released kind of wideish. Although it does stars Hugh Grant as well and directed by Stephen Frears.
Yeah, right. It's really just an art house movie released to the mainstream.
Right, and the box office kind of reflect that.
Yeah, and it's not bad, but it's just not not great. According to Wikipedia, the budget is 29 million. If that's the case, and the film doesn't hold up in the following weekends, then this could lose money.
It might, but with these art house movies, they usually stay longer in theaters.
Yeah, they usually hold up pretty well.
Yeah, because the target audience don't usually rush out during the opening weekends to watch.
Right.
All right, so moving along to number 9 is 9 Lives. It grossed 3.5 million over the weekend. It's already in its second weekend. What's the movie about? A movie about cats. It stars Jennifer Garner, Cheryl Hines, Kevin Spacey, Christopher Walken, and it's directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who directed Men in Black.
The guy who made like Men in Black. Yeah. So some decent talent in here, but it's one of those films that people scratch their head over. They're like, hey, why did they all decide to come together to make this movie? And it's a poorly reviewed film. I think 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's just one of those films where you're thinking like, even sometimes the smartest people will have the dumbest ideas.
Well, everyone has a dud in them once in a while.
Yeah.
Right? When you make so many movies, and this is one of them, I guess.
Yeah. Not much more we can say about it.
Yeah, right. Barry Sonnenfeld from the Men in Black movies to 9 Lives.
And Kevin Spacey, Oscar winner.
Well, the thing is, Kevin Spacey is that he is in some weird movies.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that he's in this movie.
Yeah, lately his choices are just kind of out there.
Well, he's also producing. I guess he might be a producer in this movie.
Well, who knows? Maybe he loves cats.
He loves cats.
Well,
right.
A lot of people do.
Or a paycheck. Everyone loves that.
Yeah, or a paycheck, right. Alright, at number 10, a completely different kind of movie. A horror/thriller movie, Lights Out. Produced by James Wan, grossed 3.2 million over the weekend. And after 4 weeks of release, it has already grossed 61 million at a budget of just 5 million. So another huge profit maker from James Wan, another well-reviewed horror film for WB.
Right. And it's in its fourth weekend. It's still in the top 10. It'll probably drop out the next weekend.
The worldwide figure is at 98 million. So this is a huge moneymaker for WB. And at a budget of just 5 million. And with these films, they make a big chunk of their money on video too. So hey, they're just seeing money coming in from this movie.
You know what? I think James Wan should just stick to making horror movies. Perhaps the upcoming Aquaman might be a horror movie, but...
He did make a Furious 7, which turned out pretty good for an action movie.
Right, but when you're taking into consideration the lower budget and the returns, I mean, horror movie is where it's at.
Yeah, but you heard what he said, right? His original intention was he wanted to make big blockbuster movies, and his way in was to make these low-budget horror films. But he just got really good at making them. He became like one of the best horror makers of his time, even though that's not what he originally wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs to throw in a few car chases, maybe some superheroes into his horror movies, and there you go.
Right. We'll see how Aquaman turns out.
You know what? If it has any hint of success, it's a win for him, because no one expects Aquaman to do well at all.
Yeah, especially following Batman vs. Superman Suicide Squad, and if Wonder Woman doesn't turn out good, then the expectations for Aquaman will be really, really, really low.
Yeah, and I have my doubts about Wonder Woman because the movie actually takes place in the past.
Which isn't too bad because it looks a little bit like, the first Captain America,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like an Indiana Jones type action adventure
Mm-hmm.
movie. But I think maybe for future films in the DC universe, WB should just say, hey, you guys need to get out of that Zack Snyder influence bubble, Just do whatever you feel like doing. You don't have to follow the blueprint that he set up for the entire DC universe of films.
Yeah, but you don't have a division set up for the superhero movies like what Marvel is doing, right? Marvel is its own thing. That's kind of the caretaker of this whole Marvel property. All the superheroes, right?
I guess the mistake that WB made was putting this big entire DC slate of films on Zack Snyder's shoulders instead of Chris Nolan's. If they allow Chris Nolan to create that blueprint,
I don't think they have a
instead
choice.
Of Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I don't think they have a
You don't
choice.
think so? Because Chris Nolan basically jump started the DC brand with his Batman films, and they should have throw whatever money they want at Chris Nolan to create that blueprint instead of Zack Snyder. But I guess hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, but no. I think they tried, but just Nolan just didn't want any part of it. I think he says after the Batman movies, he's done with superhero movies.
Well, hindsight is 2020, but I wonder if they threw everything at it. I wonder if they here's 50 million, create a blueprint for us.
Well, I think their problem really is time. It's like after Marvel did so well, I think they just threw saying, okay, we're gonna make 9 movies from here till whatever, and then they just lack time to come together with a whole cohesive plan, and they need something quick. And I guess Zack Snyder's the guy that kind of did it, saying, hey, I could do that, and that's what they went with.
Yeah, but I think when it's all said and done, people will look back at it and say, oh my goodness, they should have did whatever they could to get Chris Nolan to create that blueprint instead of giving it to Zack Snyder.
Yeah, well, it's still not too late. I think he's one of the consultants. He's one of the consultants, but I don't think he's taking the lead on it.
It is asking a lot of a director though, because the advantage with Kevin Feige is he's a producer guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the guy making all these films. And Chris Nolan is one of those auteurs who makes a bunch of very unique films. And tying him down to one genre of films is probably very difficult things to do. Because it's something that's going to take up like 10 or 20 his entire years as a filmmaker.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, like, if you have no interest in doing this, then you're not going to give your best effort.
Yeah,
and I think that's where Chris Nolan is. It's like he said that he's not interested in making superhero movies anymore.
Right.
He's done with Batman. He's done with superhero movies. So, all right, let's see. I guess that's it for the top 10.
All right, let's move on to the opening movies.
All right, openings. We have 3. We have Ben-Hur, Kubo and the Two Strings, and War Dogs.
What do you want to start with?
Let's go with Ben-Hur. It's directed by Timur Bingman-Bintov. Is that how you pronounce his name? The guy who did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, directed Wanted.
Oh, yeah. So, I like him as a director. He makes films he makes action films, very energetic, very stylish action films. And, I like Wanted. I like I watched one of was it The Watch?
Night Watch. Night Watch and Day Watch.
Yeah, Night Watch.
Yeah.
I think I watched one of those films. And even the Abraham movie I thought was kind of entertaining. But, Ben-Hur is like one of those films I don't feel like, you remake. But the weird thing with Ben-Hur is I didn't hear anything about it until I saw the trailer recently while watching the Olympics. And I'm like, whoa, Morgan Freeman is in it? Oh. And I also feel like Morgan Freeman's voice is kind of miscast in this. It doesn't quite fit that era.
Well, it's kind of like the token black guy, right? In a movie to lend the movie some legitimacy because, hey, who else you're going to latch on? Jack Houston, Toby Cabell,
right.
Rodrigo Santoro. Those are not like A-list actors.
Yeah.
Not people who could carry a movie.
Right. And yeah, definitely Morgan Freeman will add a ton of credibility to your film.
Or at least recognition, right? Name recognition.
Yeah, name recognition and credibility.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he's his voice and it doesn't quite fit that era of film, but seems a little bit out of place. The way he speaks his lines and his voice doesn't quite fit it.
Yeah.
But that's just based on the trailer though.
Right. And also I think the bigger problem with Ben-Hur is, it's kind of a down to earth movie, really, right? Especially a movie kind of is related to Jesus, right? And the highlight of the movie really is the kind of like the chariot race, right?
Yeah.
At the end, and of course,
Right.
from the trailer, there's some ocean scene with boats, but but you seen like Wrath of the Titans, right? Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
expect to see these
Right.
gigantic monsters fighting it out, except that you're seeing these guys dueling on,
Right.
on chariots, and they're not quite as exciting.
Yeah, no, they're not. And the problem with those scenes is nowadays you look at it and with the advancement in technology, that a lot of it is CGI, and as an audience want to see more. It takes a bit more to engage us now. Like you can't just give us these one of the mill action scenes anymore. You would have to do something in the vein of Mad Max, where it's a combination of practicals and CGI, where the CGI isn't really noticeable. Watching Ben-Hur, it seems like a lot of these action sequences, it looks like it's heavily aided by CGI.
Yeah, that too. But like I said, when I'm watching the trailer, I'm expecting something bigger.
You're
more.
expecting monsters. Yeah, you're expecting more.
Exactly, I'm expecting this creature to come out and wreak havoc with at the stadium or something. Not Jack Houston and Toby Cabell, just yelling at each other.
And racing. When you watch the original Ben-Hur, you know that these sequences doesn't have the aid of CGI, so it's a lot more thrilling, and you feel like when they fall off their carriage that you feel that pain, and you feel like these carriages are actually breaking apart and running people over. Whereas this, you watch it and you know that it's aided by CGI, so you don't feel like when they fall, they're actually hurting that much. Or when you see these carriages being smashed or breaking apart, it doesn't feel as realistic.
That's true, but then that 1959 movie had Charleston Heston.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Who has a better screen presence than who's in here?
You hit it right in the head. Yeah, the original Ben-Hur has.
Well, that wasn't the original Ben-Hur. It was the 1959 Ben-Hur. There was one that's even older.
Oh, even older. Okay. Well, I'm talking about the
more well-known one.
Yeah, the more well-known one. Yeah, he has a presence, whereas these guys don't have any presence. They don't have any screen presence.
Okay, given that. So, what do you think? How the movie will perform?
I'm giving it a 10 million.
10 million. Okay. I'm gonna do a little bit better, maybe 20 to 25.
I'll go with what you said. They don't have Charlton Heston's screen presence. None of them do.
No.
I think when you remake a movie like this, you need someone with this kind of screen presence.
Well, you need something for people to come watch, right? I don't think the chariot races will do it. I don't think these young actors will do it.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman will do it, but he's in a background role.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have someone with his kind of respect and screen presence in the foreground.
Right. So yeah. You 10 million, I might be high. It could be. Right, 20 to 25 million could be at the lower end of what my projection.
All right, we'll see.
All right, so Kubo and the Two Strings. It's the stop motion animation by Laika Studio, I think, who made Box Trolls, Paranorman, and Caroline.
Yeah, a bunch of very good films.
Yeah, I think they also did the Tim Burton Corpse Bride, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, on average, they're all very well reviewed, and the box office decent, not spectacular. I think they all do in the range of like 60 to 80 million. So decent box office, but not like they're not hitting it out of the park.
Oh well, they're not like Pixar's. They're not like Illumination. They're not even Fox, Blue Sky Studios or DreamWorks. And I don't think they seek to be that, because I think they just want to keep this the stop motion animation live, the technique.
Yeah, and they're doing a very good job. I like their library of films. And Kubo looks like it's the best one yet.
It's the best looking one.
Yeah, I've been hearing great things about it. The reviews on Rotten Tomatoes so far is 94% after 17 reviews. I've been hearing people who are saying that this is the best animated feature of the year, even with Finding Dory. But it seems like this genre has its
limitations
cap at the box office. Yeah, has its limitations at the box office. I want to say 25 million. I want it to do well. I want it to do better than that, but this genre seems to have this cap.
Okay, so I think I'm going with 15, because that's where these movies did in the past. With Park Trolls, Paranorman, Caroline. I think it's just one of the limitations of stop motion is that it doesn't look as good as the other movies, the CGIs or hand-drawn animations. And and for some that might be a turnoff. And I think Kubo and the Two Strings, I think it looks the best of these movies yet. I mean, it's smoother.
Yeah.
I think the animation is smoother. It's not as jerky as the previous ones, and so that might be to its benefit. I mean, that might bump it up a bit. Mm-hmm. So it could be up to your 20 million. But at the same time, the story is Eastern.
It's definitely a little bit more colorful than their previous films. The previous films are kind of dark. This one is a little bit brighter and a little bit more colorful. So that might help it a little bit. I'm not sure. But it does seem like, it's not as bright and not as smooth as the CGI animated films. It definitely has a certain look. And it seems like that certain look has a certain limitation at the box office.
Right. And I was going to say, the story is Eastern, Japanese, really. So that might limit the potential audience a bit too.
Right. But I hope it does well.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for it to do well, because it deserves to do well.
Yeah.
From what you said, it's a good movie, very very good movie.
All right, so I'm going 25. You're going 15.
Yes.
All right, let's go to War Dogs. Speaking of Jonah Hill.
Yeah. So it's the comedy, starring Hill and Miles Teller. They are and it's directed by Todd Phillips, who co-wrote the movie. And all-rated movie, kind of like.
Bradley Cooper seems like he has a small role and supporting role.
Well, yeah, it's by he's part of this thing. He's probably producing it as well.
And it seems like these Middle Eastern, these movies based on the war or the war in the Middle East hasn't been doing that well lately. Very poorly. They've been doing very poorly lately. And I'm not sure if Jonah Hill and Miles Teller can bring them out of that funk.
Which is fair, but it's the trailer looks funny. But like you said, comedies that takes place in the Middle East don't do that well.
They haven't been so.
Right, but could this break the trend though? War Dogs.
This is based on a true story, right?
I'm not sure. Could be.
Yeah.
But no one actually cares about that.
I wonder if Jonah Hill will throw in, some of his raunchy humor.
I'm sure. It's rated R. Talks about, weapons of war, right? And this is kind of like the 21 Jump Street of war comedies, I guess.
Oh, I see. I don't have high hopes, mainly because this mini genre's track record hasn't been that good. Has been in the dump lately. I'll go with that trend. I'll give it 6 million.
6 million?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah. You're actually pretty low on this week's movies.
Yeah.
I think it's probably gonna do again 20 to 25 because of the humor. Jonah Hill.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they're heavily marketing this as from the producers or the people behind the Hangover movies, and I think those people might turn out for this one.
I don't know. I think those people would be like, "What? This is not what I signed up for. I want the Hangover, not a movie about people making money selling. Was it war?
Guns.
What are they selling?
They're selling guns.
Weapons. Yeah, to the Middle East.
They're actually transporting guns from one place to the other. Yeah, and people describe this as the Wolf of Wall Street. Kind of trying to explain war, and contracting through this movie.
Okay.
Kind of like Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio.
All right. I don't have high hopes, but you do.
Well, it's not particularly high, but I think it's going to do decent because it is a comedy.
I think 25 million would be if it makes 25 million, it would be considered a huge success, especially based on the kind of film genre that it's in.
Yeah, so I'm still jet lagged, so I could be wrong as well. Just throwing stuff out there.
All right. Okay, we'll see you next week then.
Right. Well, come back next week and see how we did.